Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. You only win a Super Bowl 2 times every 5 years, right? Oh!
The warm-up act is over. Let's bring in Melissa Etheridge, massive Chiefs fan. Melissa.
Super Bowl champion, 2-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
And he picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna score!
We'll see you next week, but until then, as always, go Chiefs.
Hey everybody, what is going on? I am Matt Verderame, filling in for Patrick Allen, who is still out, of course, on his paternity leave. Good for him. Good for he and his young family. And so you're stuck with me, and I'm stuck with you people, and let's make the best of it. Last week we finished up by talking about OTAs. This week the Chiefs have finished up their mandatory minicamp, which ran through Thursday. They are now done. They showed up for the 3 days. They got a little bit of work in, unlike the Jets, who everybody else in the Jets got 3 days of work in, except for Hassan Reddick and one other notable athlete. But yeah, the Chiefs, next time we'll see them is training camp. Next time we will see the Chiefs is when they are getting into St. Joe's, getting ready to crack some pads, get ready for their 3 preseason games, and then what we think will be a very, very long season that'll run deep into January, very possibly into February again. So, look, I am not going to sit here and break down minicamp as if it is some undeniable road marker for how the season is going to go. Like, we know who the Chiefs are. We're pretty well aware of the fact that they're pretty good. And if they play well, they're going to be just fine. But I will get into a few takeaways I have from minicamp as we turn toward training camp here in a minute. And before we can get into that, Rob with the generous super chat. Thank you, Rob. Appreciate you. Do you think any more free agents will be signed? I don't think any meaningful ones. I mean, there's always a chance, obviously, right, Rob, that they sign some, a third running back or something. But I don't think anybody who's going to come in and compete for playing time. I know Donovan Smith is kind of the one guy you look at and say maybe he's the caveat. Maybe he is a caveat. But they drafted tackles in the second and third rounds in the last 2 years. Like, that's a significant investment. Those 2 day 2 picks. Kingsley Suamataia, second-round pick. Wanya Morris, third-round pick. I think they're going to let those guys battle it out. I do. I don't think it's going to be Donovan Smith to the rescue here. And look, Donovan Smith was fine last season, but he wasn't great. It's not like you watched Donovan Smith and went, oh my God, they got to have him back. He was okay. They also spent a second-round pick on a kid at that position for a reason. I don't think anywhere else, I don't think they're going to spend a lot of money, on a free agent, a guard or receiver. Now, listen, things can always change. Somebody gets cut that you don't expect. Obviously, if somebody gets cut in training camp, but I think they kind of are who they are, which is true of most teams at this point. I don't think all of a sudden you're going to see the Chiefs going out and signing other guys. Again, could they sign some third string running? Sure. But as far as a guy who's going to actively see playing time, I don't know that that's going to happen. So that's my 2 cents on that. I thank you for the super chat, Rob. I don't think that the Chiefs are going to go out and sign anybody of note. That's I think a team that knows who it is and where it stands and feels good about it. You go from there. Now, with that said, to get back to the mini camp for a moment, and this kind of goes into OTAs as well, but look, they have made it a very, very obvious, clear emphasis that they want to throw the ball on the field this year. They went out and they got Xavier Worthy, who unfortunately has been sidelined pretty much the entirety of the offseason with a nagging hamstring injury. They got Hollywood Brown. They brought back Mecole Hardman. Speed. I mean, they have made it abundantly clear. They want to stretch the defense vertically. They want to get the ball into spots it couldn't last year with MVS, who obviously was a vertical threat at his peak with the Chiefs, but struggled mightily last season until the playoffs came around. Then it was Jerry Rice, while he was going backwards. But they don't have another guy. I mean, Justin Watson is speed, but Justin Watson isn't a legitimate, like, oh, he's going to break the game open. And now they've got a couple of guys. Well, Hardman's not going to break the game open, because he's just not productive enough to do that. Hollywood Brown is, and Xavier Worthy hopefully will be. And that is going to open up space for Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce underneath. That's something Patrick Mahomes talked about on Thursday. Look, it is clear, if you're a Chiefs fan, that the team, even though they won the Super Bowl last year, they did not view that offense as an acceptable offense. And they're right to feel that way. That offense sucked. That offense largely was terrible last year. And the funny thing is, if you look at them statistically speaking, they're about middle of the road in points per game, yards per game, explosive plays, but they were nowhere near what they've been. And when you have Patrick Mahomes, you should be a top tier offense. You should be a top 5 to 8 offense every year, easy money with that guy quarterback. And they weren't last year. They weren't. They struggled most of the season. Really, even in the playoffs, the only game they put it all together was against Buffalo. In Miami, they couldn't get touchdowns. They kept bogging down the red zone. Baltimore, they were held under 20 points. In San Francisco, they were under 20 points till overtime. And their only touchdown in the regulation portion of the game, came off of a muffed punt where the Chiefs recovered inside San Francisco's red zone. So, you got to factor these things in. All right, now, the Chiefs can want to throw the ball deep. Doesn't mean that that's always going to be the case, because the opponent, of course, is going to try to take that away. But this is where I think the element of speed becomes very interesting for the Chiefs. So they bring in all these guys who can threaten you vertically. And that's going to cause defenses, assuredly, to play too high safeties. They're going to have to. Last year was the first time while teams tried to play single high against Chiefs, and it worked because Chiefs couldn't stretch them. That is not going to be the case this season. The Chiefs are going to be able to stretch the field vertically on teams. And so what's going to happen is, instead of having a safety, particularly a strong safety, come down into the middle of the field and play that robber look, play that joker look, play that lurker look, where that guy's standing maybe 10 yards off the ball and he's just trying to muddy up the picture in the middle of the field. That guy's now playing deep half. Okay? That guy's got to bail and get 20, 25 yards back, because Hollywood Brown is screaming and running a 9 route at him, and Mecole Hardman's running a deep over, and Xavier Worthy's running a 7 route, and all of a sudden, you got problems. And you better have a lot of guys back there to handle it, because the Chiefs have a quarterback who on any given play can just decide, I'm going to air it out. There's nothing you're doing to stop me. I think the value in that is, sure, if one of those guys get open, you have a huge play. But the other value in it, and I think, quite frankly, the more consistent, bigger value in it, the second level of the field is going to be wide open, because you're going to have the 4+ pass rushers going after Mahomes. You're going to have the corners on the outside. You're going to have the 2 deep safeties. That is not leaving a lot of bodies to cover the intermediate portion of the field against guys like Kelce, guys like Rashee Rice, who is a specialty type player in that range, right? Who can run the drags, who can run the slants, who can run the overs. He's going to shine there. Go back, watch the Dolphins playoff game. That was all he did, over and over and over and over. Literally crosses galore, and he was just killing whoever was on him. That's what they want to do. Noah Gray's going to get open in that area. Jared Wiley, if he works his way into the rotation here, he's going to get open in that area. That's where, life gets a lot easier, and the Chiefs can make a lot of their money off of it. Pacheco, you're not going to see 7 in the box and a safety creeping down. You're going to see 6 in the box and a safety 25 yards off the line of scrimmage. It's a huge difference. And Zulu, I don't think he'll make the team. I do not think he'll make the team. I think 6 receivers are making the team. I think Hardman being on the team said goodbye to Justin Ross. But offensively speaking, like that is my big takeaway. Is they are clearly making an effort to push the ball down the field in a way they flat out could not last year. And I think they're smart to do it because it will open up a lot of other facets of the offense. It's not just about hitting the deep ball. The deep ball, even with Mahomes, is a low percentage throw. It's about opening up the high percentage throws to your really, really good top targets underneath. It's about opening up the running game so Pacheco doesn't have to make two guys miss. Maybe he has to make one guy miss. That's the difference. And Zulu, just to answer your question a little bit further, man. Look, I think they're going to keep 6. And let's operate for a quick second that Rice is there. I think it's Rice, it's Hollywood Brown, it's Worthy, it's Hardman, it's Watson. Those 5 guys are making the thing. So it's Toney, and it's Moore, and it's Ross, and it's Remigio. I mean, odds are that I don't think Justin Ross is making the team. Now, it could be 2 of those guys if there's a suspension to deal with here. Then, sure. But if there's not, and Rice either isn't suspended to start the year or is somehow exonerated before then, he's not going to get suspended at all, then, yeah, I don't think he has any real shot to make the team. If Rice is suspended, then maybe, but I doubt it. Just feels like he had an opportunity last year, ended up getting himself suspended. I just don't think it's happening. I think if it was going to happen, it would have happened last year. By the way, Latrell, thanks for the kind comment. Thursdays are one of the best days for Cheese Pods. Hey, listen, appreciate that. Of course, we've always got it here at the Arrowhead Addict podcast. I am guest hosting for a while Patrick spends time with his wife Maggie and their son Rory. Happy to be here. Happy to do it. And then also shamelessly plug myself. I have the Matt Verderame show on Patreon that you can check out. I know a lot of you already do, and I appreciate you. There's a couple different tiers. Try to keep it inexpensive, so everybody can enjoy it. I just recorded a podcast that was an hour and I think 25 minutes, which had, I think, a dozen mailbag questions that I answered. Do the mailbag every Friday. Shows every Monday, every Friday, and also a monthly Zoom meeting where we all hang out and talk shop. There's a ton of content on the Matt Verderame show, which you can check out at Patreon, patreon.com/Matt Verderame. So that is one of probably 2 shameless plugs today. Check it out. Would appreciate you. You can also listen on Spotify. All right. Ronald asks, just got on. Do you think Remigio has a good chance to make it? I'm a fan. I would say his chances are less than 50-50 just because it's numbers. Again, you're talking about Hardman and Rice and Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy, Justin Watson. I mean, there's 5 guys that are definitely making it. So again, it's Ross and it's Remigio and it's Toney and Moore. And look, if I had my druthers, Toney and Moore would be long gone. I'm sorry. Like, Toney couldn't even be bothered to show up for OTAs. It's almost at this point like he's like daring the Chiefs to cut him. I don't know. I don't get it. That's just me. Good afternoon, everybody, by the way. Thanks for the kind words. Gonzo, thoughts on Pats fans booing Mahomes last night? Do they fear what he can do? Yeah, of course they fear what he can do because he's kicking everybody's ass. Look, they booed him because he's the threat to Brady. I mean, at this point, if you're New England, if you're a Pats fan, like, what is your thing to hold on to right now? It's glory days. It sure as hell isn't right now. Now, Drake may end up making everybody feel differently. But yeah, I think it's fair to say that they're booing Mahomes because Mahomes is the threat to Brady. I don't think it's personal. I just think he might be the guy who takes the mantle. And if you're a Pats fan, you don't want anybody to ever take that mantle. I understand that. Listen, if I'm a Pats fan, I'd boo him too. The guy's ridiculous. I mean, let's be honest. Unless you're a Chiefs fan, you really thrilled to death if you have to deal with Mahomes. No, look, if you're an NFC fan, if you're a Giants fan, maybe you don't care. If you're a Bills fan, a Bengals, you're anybody in the AFC, you're not overly thrilled Patrick Mahomes exists, right? Let's be honest about it. Okay, let's see. Let me scroll back here and catch up. Jack's asking, what does our O-line do this year? I think the O-line's good, man. I mean, like the tackles are a little bit disconcerting because you have a competition at the left tackle spot, and on the right side, Juwan Taylor, who I thought Juwan Taylor played better as the year went on. But listen, he was average. But a lot of his downside was the penalties. Like he blocked fine. It was his penalties killed him. If he gets that straightened out, he could be, a really good right tackle. And it's the second year in the system. We'll see how it plays out. As far as left tackle, listen, we know what it is, right? It's Suamate and it's Morris. That's a question mark. And it's one that you're not going to get an answer until the season begins. But the interior of the line is probably the best interior in the NFL. The Rams have a really good interior. The Eagles, even without Kelsey, still have a very good interior. The Chiefs guard center guard combo is ridiculous. I think they'll be just fine. Braden, with the Wiley hype, is there a chance Irv Smith doesn't make the cut? It's possible. I'm looking for tight ends, which I know Rob is saying the same thing. Yeah. I think look, Wiley's making the team, okay, and Gray and Kelsey are of course making the team. My guess is that Irv Smith is the fourth tight end, but it is possible they cut him. It is possible. He's one of those swing guys. When it's roster cut down day, we're all sitting there going, all right, well, who's the surprise cut? Did somebody get cut that we didn't expect? Did somebody make the team? Where maybe you thought that might be one too many spots, so on and so forth. Kathy saying Kathy had a good day. I am not familiar with how he practiced today. My point was he did not bother to show up for OTAs for 3 weeks. Everybody else was there. I am to a point with him where he doesn't show up on Sundays. He doesn't show up at OTAs. He shows up on my Twitter feed half the time for all the wrong reasons. Whether it's something he did on Instagram or whatever the hell else he's got going on. The guy has been nothing short of a massive disappointment in Kansas City. There's no way around it. He had one huge play, and it was a huge play. Okay, that punt return, give him all the credit in the world. That's one of the best plays in Chiefs history. It is. And that's a legacy, I guess. It's more than most. He had that play, but come on. I mean, and I see Philip saying, have you seen our talent at wide receiver? That's why Toney is still here. If he can get his head straight, he can contribute. Yeah, okay. And if I could throw a fastball 100 miles an hour, I'd be a Major League Baseball pitcher, but I can't, and he has shown no ability to do that. I mean, at what point, my dad is a saying that potential is a fancy word for saying you've never done shit, right? Because if you've done something, you don't have potential, you're just good. That's the problem. He has a bevy of potential. He never does anything with it. This is year 4. He's not a kid. This is year 4 for him. He ever going to bother to show up and play football on a consistent basis? He couldn't be bothered to show up to OTAs. I would have cut him for that. And I know it's voluntary. I get it. Let's be real. It's not really voluntary. Unless you are one of those rare air guys. For Kelsey, it's voluntary. For him, not so much. I don't know, man. I'm out on him. Talent, sure, he's got talent. That's fine. A lot of guys have talent. What does he do with it? And I actually kind of disagree about the receiver room. They've got Rashee Rice, Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy. They got guys, man. That room, it's not like last year we were looking at it going, okay, well, it's MVS and it's Watson. No, they've got guys. Now, Worthy, we'll see, right? I mean, we will see. But Watson, Hardman is your 4-5. Listen, man, if those are your 4th and 5th receivers, it's pretty good. I don't want them as my 2 and 3, but 4 and 5, I'll sign for that. Jack, by the way, I did not miss your question. How do we feel about the linebackers? Very good starters, very scary depth. If anybody gets hurt, they've got a problem. That is the concern for me with the linebackers. You have nobody behind Chenal, Tranquil, and Bolton that you trust. Christensen, okay, but man, he did not. I mean, I'll look it up real quick. He did not play a lot of snaps last year. I mean, it's not like Christensen was out there, playing some crazy amount of time. I feel good. You worry with them that if anybody goes down for any amount of time at linebacker, I mean, you can cover it a little bit in terms of hey, we're gonna play a bunch of dime and a bunch of nickel, and we're only gonna have 2 linebackers out there. And by the way, I had a brain fart. I'm sorry. I meant Jack Cochran, not Christensen. Cochran. So Cochran last year, it was his second year with the team, and suited up for all of them. Had 28 tackles, right? But is a guy who, realistically speaking, he is a special teamer. Okay, he's not a guy they're looking to have play a ton of defensive snaps. I mean, last year he played 180 defensive snaps, 17% of the snaps. But he played 79% of special team snaps. He's a very good special teams player. I would be worried if Jack Cochran had to play a significant amount of time. That's just where I'm at. But the top 3 guys are awesome. Braden, over under on games Toney actually plays. I'm not saying it's to be a jerk. I mean, I'm serious. Like half a game, and I take the under. I don't think he's going to make the team. Zulu, any chance Donovan Smith gets re-signed? Yeah, there's a chance. I don't think he will. I think they're going to go forward with these 2 guys. But yeah, I mean, there's a chance. There's a chance for sure. They need him. It's break class in case of emergency. Let's see. Jack with the super chat. Thank you, man. Great content. Other than Toney, who's the next biggest liability? I gotta tell you, man, they're pretty damn good. There's not a lot of them. I would just say depth, like at linebacker. There's questionable depth there. There's questionable depth at corner. Last year your 4th corner was Josh Williams. Now he's your 3rd corner. Kamal Hadden, is he ready to go? Is Najee Johnson ready to roll? I think they're fine there, but you can't say for sure. They're very deep at safety. They're very deep at D-line. I mean, you want to say maybe Juwan Taylor? Good. Wouldn't be crazy. But yeah, that's where I'm at on that group. Gonzo, do you think the Chiefs are looking to restructure Juwan's contract as soon as possible? No, because then you're pushing guaranteed money down the road. I think they'd rather keep flexibility. I think they'd rather keep flexibility on him. I think, look, his contract, they're probably going to be able to get out after the 3rd year if they want to. But I think right now, I think they're hoping he just bounces back and it's a better year. So if you look at Juwan Taylor's contract, sorry, I'm doing this in real time. Since I'm answering questions in real time, comes to territory. Okay. His contract right now, his cap numbers for this year and the next 2 years, 2025, 2026. Cap number is $24.725 million. They really can't get out of it before 2026. They would actually eat additional dead money beyond the cap number if they release him. He's not going anywhere. He's there for 2 more years. I mean, do they really, really he sucks, get out? I mean, they could cut him post-June 1 and just save nothing, but not owe additional money after next season. But they're not going to do that. He's there for 2 more years. He is there for 2 more years, barring some crazy thing. By the way, Gonzo, I do not deserve a ring, but thanks. I'll take one. For sure. But appreciate that. All right. The guy worries. Braden says the guy worries me. But how much of an impact? Not the whole chat moved on me. How much of an impact do you think Wentz will have on sneaks? 0. I don't think they're gonna play him. It's not a bad thought. They don't do that. They've never done that. I don't think they're gonna put him out on the field cold and ask him to take a snap and dive forward on a key 4th down. I just don't think he's going to play unless he has to. I will say this. I am not a big Carson Wentz guy. I never have been. He is easily the most talented quarterback they've had behind Mahomes in his career. If Wentz had to come in, God forbid, and play for a month, they probably could go 3-1 with him. With Andy coaching the team and Wentz knows the offense because he played under Doug Peterson, they could probably survive with Wentz for a month. Now, look, you get in the playoffs, Carson Wentz. I don't think they can survive that unless the defense just goes absolutely bananas again. But, Wentz is more talented than Henne. He's more talented than Gabbard. He's more talented than Matt Moore. Yeah, I think you got to be fair. You call it like you see it, and that's how I see it. I think that Carson Wentz is very much limited. He makes a lot of mistakes if you don't keep him in like his little box, so to speak. But listen, he's also a player who, if you keep him inside that aforementioned box, and you give him kind of a defined way to play, he can do it. But hopefully we never have to find out. Hopefully he doesn't play a single snap unless Chiefs are by 40 points. They don't care about the game anymore because they've salted it away. Let's all hope for the best. Okay. So, lastly, as far as I'm concerned with minicamp, I'll circle back there real quick on the defensive side of the ball. I noticed a couple of guys, George Karlaftis, Chris Jones, talking about Felix and DK Uzama. I'm taking a little note of it. It's interesting. I'm not saying that means he's going to come out and be Reggie White, but what I am saying is, like, it's interesting that they were talking about him, kind of gassing him up a little bit, saying he looks good. I'm curious to watch how that kid progresses in training camp. Because I can tell you, unequivocally, because I talked to someone in the building about this last year, they thought he had a really good training camp. Like, they were very happy with him. It wasn't like they looked at him and went, oh, this guy's kind of a bust. And believe me, I've had conversations with people in that building where, like, that conversation happens sometimes. Like, yeah, I don't know about this guy. They're very high on him. So he is the guy coming out of minicamp that I'm very interested in defensively. Gonzo, bro, you were therapy from you when the trade for Hill happened. You were right about those draft picks and the cap space you created. You cooked the AFC West, and it turned out to be true. Listen, Gonzo, in full disclosure, if you go back and you watch that emergency pod, I was killing the Chiefs in real time for that trade. Because my thought process was, if you trade that guy, everybody doubles Kelsey and it's a wrap. What changed my position on it, to be completely honest, was, again, talking to people in the building who essentially explained to me in very great detail why they did it. And when you took the thought process and applied it to how they were viewing the situation, it made sense. I still thought it was a massive gamble. And look, it was. That trade was a massive gamble that Veach won because he drafted his ass off. Like, you could make that same trade and it's a miserable failure if you take Kyrie Elam instead of Trent McDuffie. Okay? But they didn't. They took Trent McDuffie and they took Brian Cook and they took George Karlaftis and they took Jalen Watson and Joshua Williams and on and on and on. Like, they hit the jackpot. Okay? And they deserve to get credit for that because they're the ones who obviously made those picks. But my first reaction was to absolutely just scream at them. But they essentially knew that if they signed Hill to the deal Hill wanted, they could not fix the defense. And they felt like that was not a compromise they could make. This is very interesting. It's very interesting. But it worked out. It worked out. No one would argue that. It worked out really for both teams, to be fair. Rob, thank you for a very generous super chat, man. Really appreciate you. Matt, you and I both have been vocal about Toney. I just wish the Chiefs had cut him already. Yeah, look, and it's not like a personal thing. I don't think I've ever talked to Kadarius Toney. Not that I remember. It's nothing against the guy personally. I mean, I think some of the stuff he's done away from the field is idiotic, like some of his Instagram stuff. But look, he's not a guy who's been like in trouble with the law and whatnot. I'm not coming after him, in any way in that regard. But he's been bad on the field. I mean, come on. Let's be real about this. He's been terrible. He's not been okay. He's not been decent. He's been awful. He has been absolutely flat out awful. Excuse me. Somebody's calling me. Never mind. I mean, he's been flat out bad. At some point, that's got to count for something. I mean, sit there and talk about, he's got talent. Great. You ever going to do anything with it? He's going to wait till he's 50? I mean, what bothers me about him and it's not just him, but there are many players who you kind of fit this description. He does have a lot of talent. But then I see guys who have a fifth of the talent who show up to OTAs and who aren't on Instagram causing a problem the week of the Super Bowl and who don't drop a million passes because they lose focus and they're not paying attention. Like, they're not lined up in the neutral zone as an offensive player because they have no idea what they're doing. Like, look, that's the problem I have with him. I look at a guy like Jalen Watson. Jalen Watson doesn't have a fingernail's worth of talent in his body, athletic ability, the way that Kadarius Toney does. But the guy maximizes every single ounce of it. He's technically sound. He works hard. He fights through things. Like last year, he played the whole damn season with a torn labrum in his shoulder. Could have shut it down. Probably should have shut it down. Played hard. He was accountable to the team. At some point, it matters, man. It matters. Like, potential's fine and well, but it doesn't translate if you don't put the work and the time and the effort in. For him to not show up to OTAs this year, I mean, honest to God, of all the guys on the team, he's the one who didn't bother to show up. That's like after Lynn Elliott missed those kicks in 95. If in 96 he was just like, listen, guys, I'm good. Like, you kidding me? I'm out. I'm out on him. I just am. I hope he proves me wrong. I hope he goes 2,000 yards to chase this year. I just don't believe in him. I don't. Sorry. Don't see it. All right. Zulu's defense is going to be top 5 this year. I think it'll be close. I think they're going to score more points. So I think they're probably going to give it more yardage and more points because teams are going to be trailing and they're going to be, full throttle to come back, and Chiefs might be trading time for points. But I think when you're talking about, like, hey, if you had to just rank, like, who are the 5 best defenses in the league, I think they're right there. They're going to be really good again. I mean, Spagnuolo with all that talent and all that continuity. I know they lost Snead, and I respect the hell out of Snead. Anybody who knows my commentary knows what I think of him. But they're really deep in the secondary, and I think they'll be fine. I'll tell you one thing here. You want a hot take? I think they're going to lead the league in sacks this year. They can get after you up front, man. Karlaftis and Menahu and Jones and Dana, like FAU, see what he brings to the table. They got a lot of guys. Like, I would not be shocked if they touched 60 sacks. And they've been great the last couple of years. They're right at the top. I think they're going to be at the top this year. All right, let's see. I'm going to go through here and make sure I'm not. Josh is asking, as a repeating champ, do we now have the flexibility to find players that are weapons rather than specialists? Seems real low on big spending on offense outside the line. I think that's kind of by design, to be honest with you, man. They want to spend big on the line and the quarterback because they feel like if they can protect the quarterback, he'll just elevate everybody else. They're spending a lot of money on Kelsey. They drafted Worthy in the first round, so even though they're not spending huge money, that's a big investment. And I think the rest of it is, look, you know what? Hollywood Brown, they got him on a great financial deal for them. Pacheco's cheap. I mean, part of it's because they've drafted a couple of guys. But, yeah, part of it is, they got Hollywood on the one-year deal. Noah Gray drafted. They just, Rasheed Rice drafted. They're not spending a lot of money because they don't have to. They drafted Rice, Pacheco, Gray, Worthy. I mean, and they signed the guy for 1 year, and all of a sudden, it's cheap. But what's nice about that is you invest in the line. You invest in the quarterback, and you invest in the defense. And I'll be honest with you, I think that's what they should do moving forward. Because if you have a good defense and you have a line and you have Mahomes, you're probably going to win a lot of games. I mean, look, I know nobody wants to repeat the way that offense had to play last year. They won the Super Bowl with it. Like, that offense was a tire fire, and they won the Super Bowl. I'm just saying. Jalen says people need to let Toney be. He's a depth piece that needs to be on the team. If one receiver gets hurt, it could be bad for that round. Jalen, listen, and I'm not going to, I'll move on. I just disagree with you. Why does he need to be on the team? He was as effective as if they put me on the team last year. Like, honestly. Why does he have to be on the team? He stunk out loud last season. He was awful. He almost broke Mahomes. You never see Mahomes get pissed. Ever. Ever. The only 2 times last year where Mahomes completely blew a fuse was because of Kadarius Toney. The first one was the infamous, I can't even figure out where to line up play. The second one was when they were in New England, and they're essentially running out the clock in the fourth quarter. I think they're up like 17 points. And Mahomes threw this little touch pass, like a 4-yard gain to Toney, and Toney just knocked it straight up in the air and it got intercepted. I mean, they don't need him. He's a disaster. Again, look, man, if they keep him, I hope I'm dead wrong. I hope he goes for 1,800 yards and 13 touchdowns. He's an all-pro. That'd be great. He's been awful. He has been awful. Outside of one great, glorious, give him all the credit in the world, punt return, he has been as brutal as you could be since they acquired him in every way possible. I see Philip saying he made some really nice catches in 2022. First of all, yeah, it was 2022. It's a long time ago. Second of all, if we go back and look, would anyone like to take a guess at how many yards Kadarius Toney had that year? Kadarius Toney in Kansas City had 171 yards. It's 14 catches in 7 games. I mean, that puts him on pace. He played a full year for about 400 receiving yards. Like, he's a guy who drops the ball a lot, and can't be relied upon and doesn't show up. I don't know. That's how I see him. That's all. Let's get a few more. And how big of a deal is Worthy's hamstring? Philip, I don't think it's much. I mean, he played 3 years in Texas without any real injuries or anything like that. I don't think it's a big deal. If he gets to camp and he's not practicing, then that's a different story. We have the conversation. But no, I don't. Like, whenever guys are even the slightest bit beat up, and they set them in these things. So I'd be more worried about if he was injured a lot in Texas. He was never injured in Texas. In terms of not being able to get in the field, I think 1 year, if I remember right, he had a broken hand or a broken thumb or something like that. He had something that he played through all year, but he doesn't miss games. So I wouldn't worry about it. I really wouldn't worry about it. Okay. Let's see. Are we missing anything else? Verderame is a woke dude. Well, listen. First of all, it's Verderame. I mean, for the love of God, man. It's Verderame. Come on. Second of all, I don't care about that stuff. I really don't. They're all awful. Okay. Let's see. Angry Drunken German Verde. Yes. This Thursday, many Thursdays going forward. Yes. And then let's see. He says we got our money's worth out of Toney and maybe 10th part ways. Yeah, I would agree. Nate Hunter says, what makes me mad at Toney the most is such potential, and yet nothing is ever his fault. Throw shaded team and everything else. Tells me he doesn't give a damn. Yeah, I mean, look, I would say that the fact that I would say the fact that he isn't at OTAs after the season he just put forth, I'm good. That's all I need to know. All right. That's it. That's all we got. 40 minutes. It's the middle of June. We're doing all right. We're doing okay. The Chiefs getting their Super Bowl rings, as Kathy mentions right there. The Chiefs are getting their Super Bowl rings on Thursday nights. We're going to get to see those. That's going to be cool. How could you not be excited about that? Look, 3 Super Bowl titles in 5 years. Not bad. All right. Hey, if you haven't hit the like button, please do it. If you haven't hit the subscribe button already, please do that as well. If you like my content, you can check me out at si.com. You can read all my stuff there. Also, of course, just on X or on Twitter, whatever you prefer. Tweet those out. I have a new article up where I talked to about 6 different league sources about Tua and what the Dolphins ought to do. That piece is up right now. It's on the front page of si.com. And if you're listening later, again, I tweeted it out, so you can check it out there. And then lastly, if you want to check out my podcast, it is at Patreon, patreon.com/Matt Verderame. The Matt Verderame Show is all about the Chiefs. It is at least twice a week. many weeks. There's bonus episodes, whatnot, stuff like that. I had Trey Smith on earlier this offseason. I've had just about every Chiefs voice you can think of on in the last couple of months. So if you'd like to check it out, please do so. Appreciate it. That being said, lastly, and real quick and importantly, I forgot this at the top, so bear with me. DraftKings has a quick message for you. Chiefs fans, DraftKings is offering a no-sweat bet sign-up bonus for new users. New customers who sign up with code Arrowhead and deposit at least $5 will receive a no-sweat bet up to $1,500 bonus on their first wager. This means if you place a first bet of $50 and you lose, you'll receive a $50 credit and bonus bet straight to your account up to $1,500. You will also receive one single game parlay reward every day. Using our code Arrowhead not only gets you these bonuses, but it also directly supports our podcast. And if you've been considering signing up for DraftKings, make sure to use the code Arrowhead to maximize your first bet. This offer is only available to new customers who are 21 and over and physically present in legal gambling states. Please remember to always gamble responsibly. Check the episode description for the full terms of the offer to see if you qualify. All right. That's it. That's all we've got. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching and or listening to the Arrowhead Addict podcast. I am Matt Verderame of Sports Illustrated. This has been the Arrowhead Addict podcast, and we will all be talking to you again real soon. Enjoy the weekend. Take care.